Public health emergency declared by the governor's executive orders. This meeting is being held remotely as a virtual meeting. If you are watching via cable TV on Comcast Channel 29 or Fios Channel 26, you can participate in the public comment session of this meeting by dialing any of the phone numbers which are listed on the agenda and which will be shown on your screen when we get to the public comment session, and then dial *9 to raise your hand. If you are watching via Zoom, you may speak during any of the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Greg, I know you did it once already before you went into executive session, but could you do the adequate notice statement again, please?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on October 23rd, 2020. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building and on the front door of the municipal building on October 23rd, 2020. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on October 23rd, 2020. And we also have notice on the Township website, and the agenda with all the Zoom info is posted there as well.
Thank you, Greg. And could you do the roll call again, too, please, for this portion of the meeting?
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Here.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Here.
Mayor Kelly?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you very much. Could you join me in the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Our first item on tonight's agenda is a presentation from a Skatepark citizens group. It's especially appropriate to have that one early in the agenda since a lot of the audience for that may be younger. So with that being said, I would ask Greg, could you recognize the presenter for this presentation and to share a screen?
So, Crystal, I believe you are our presenter this evening.
There we go.
And
I see me. Do you see me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Got everybody? Oh, great. Very good. Thank you. I'm just going to get my screen share up. Thank you for having us here this evening. And I know I did manage to get this presentation out to the members of the committee. I am going to share it so that everybody else can see what you all are seeing. So I'm going to pull that up here. And hopefully. Can we see that?
Yes, we can.
Thumbs up. Okay, great. Again, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. My name is Crystal Payone. I'll be speaking on behalf of the Chatham Skatepark Committee. And I am joined tonight by our other committee members who are here as well, April Kabash, Deb Pettigene, and Rachel Nowickies. And we are working to build a new skate park here in Chatham. And I'll just share a little bit. My family has lived in Chatham over 15 years. We have 3 kids, the oldest now in college. And I remember when we first moved here, seeing all the kids when we drove by Castle Playground and, you know, just the excitement and the energy of it. And I remember thinking, yeah, this is it. This is where I want to raise my family. So I fast forward now to today, and I think about all the time, the many hours we have spent through sports and activities at all the fields, all the playgrounds. And I do feel very lucky that we have these amazing amenities right here in Chatham. But I also want to note that it's really important to remember that we have these amenities because we make them a priority. And we invest in these public spaces as a way to enrich our community. So it's not only why people move here, like I did, but it's why we stay. right? So I also see value in a park that was really unique among all the others. And it's a true gathering place for kids of all ages, and that's the Chatham Skate Park. So the current skate park, as we know, it is closed. It needs repair and is on land designated for affordable housing. So I know this closure has been quite disappointing for many families in Chatham, mine included. But it really presents us this very exciting opportunity to build a new, smooth concrete, safe, and long-lasting skate park that will again enhance these public spaces like our existing playgrounds and fields. So it's time to find a new home for our skate park. And I'm jumping just a little bit ahead here, but I just want to show you, this is the picture to have in your mind when I'm talking about a new skate park. This was provided by our design and developer, Spawn Ranch. And I will revisit this a little bit, but you know, my 7th grade son, who's an avid skateboarder, obviously looks at something like this and is completely ecstatic. And I have to say, I'm pretty excited too. So, you know, hopefully as, you know, I explain a little bit more about the build and design and how we make this happen, you'll feel a little bit of this excitement as well. I'll just pull up one more kind of design idea that has, you know, other elements to it. But I wanted to speak a little bit about the current skate park, and I would love to give you numbers as to just how popular it is. I can speak to my personal experience and that of many Chatham families, and that is, you know, on any given day, if the sun is out, there's kids there. So after school, you might pull up and see, you know, 10 kids, maybe more. Certainly on a weekend, you're gonna get at least double that. And in fact, this picture I've pulled up here on the side, this was from a skate competition that they had a few years ago that, you know, the kids were super excited about. So there's skate lessons that happen there. And, you know, even though the picture you're seeing here is all skateboarders, there's a lot of scooters, kids on scooters and wheels of all kinds, roller skates, roller blades. So it really is open to all ages, you can see there. And, you know, it's a great place for kids who are, you know, just too old for the playgrounds, or maybe not involved in a team sport, or, you know, it's off season. So it's, you know, it's just that good, old-fashioned, unstructured fun. There's not enough of that. So there's no tryouts and uniforms and travel. You just show up and skate. And that's the simplicity of it is kind of the beauty of it. So, you know, to move forward with this project, we are requesting from Chatham Township two really important things. A suitable location and funding. And I am going to get into more detail on both of these as they're very important, but just to give you the bottom line right there, it comes down to needing approximately 10,000 square feet of land, and that's kind of the footprint of the skate park itself, at an estimated total investment of about $550,000. And if you've ever driven by or had your kids at the current skate park, that one is about 10,400 square feet. So that's, you know, just to give you a little idea about what the size would be. Let's talk a little bit more about location. We know it's Chatham, and we know space is tight, without a doubt. However, there are some really important considerations when it comes to choosing a spot, and you can kind of read down this list here. But if you think about the current skate park, the characteristics of that location were pretty good, right? It's visible. I feel safe dropping my kids off there. It's accessible, yet, you know, somewhat separated from residents. It's on a nice kind of flat piece of land. You got the police there for emergencies and a modest amount of parking. So these criteria are just kind of questions to keep in the back of your head as we talk about locations. And these were actually given to us by this design and builder who have worked with, hundreds of municipalities on finding a good spot. So again, visibility, I've talked a little bit about these, accessibility, what they call the design canvas, which is just, again, kind of the existing landscape. We want it to blend in. It could be, really beautiful. How much work is required, that's the shovel ready. Other amenities and infrastructure, as well as this last one, which is really important, impact to surrounding environment. And we are well aware, especially in the township, wetlands are everywhere. They're kind of hard to get away from when you're talking about kind of an open and existing piece of land. However, this particular firm, they do have experience with building on wetlands. It would not be, an automatic no. It just would require, a little extra work, but not a total game changer. All right, so here's a list of possible locations. The two I'm going to focus on tonight are relevant to you as they are both in the township. And we have had conversations already about these suggested locations with some members of the Township Committee, Borough Council, and of course, the very insightful Carol Nada, who knows anything and everything about what is going on with every field space in Chatham. So she was a very important resource on this. We also presented to the Chatham Joint Rec Advisory Committee on Tuesday, and this was another great resource for some feedback, some questions, and we are happy to hear they are supportive of a new skate park, so good to have them on board. But overall, we acknowledge there's going to need to be a little creative thinking, some open-mindedness about space, as all of these do have pros and cons. So I'm going to give you a little bird's eye view of the two that are in the township, and we'll start here at Nash Park. So you can kind of see that shaded area back by Nash 2, as we know it. It's visible, it's easy to access. I love that there's actually these other fields here. Kind of get a 2-for-1, bring one kid to the game and the other can go off on their scooter. And that is kind of a consideration as parents. We're kind of always being pulled in multiple directions. The Joint Rec Committee did bring up a concern about foul balls reaching the park area. And I'll just share, I wish I was as quick-witted as my husband. I mentioned this to him. He's done a lot of baseball coaching there, and he kind of laughed and said, well, that's not a problem. The skateboarders all wear helmets anyway. So they're totally fine, nothing to worry about. But joking aside, this is the conversation we are open to. These are the kind of questions and feedback that we're looking for. So not only from the committee, but residents, those who would use the park. And let me just close this up, sorry. Please. And that's really important, right? And we're very much open to having those conversations. And I'll show you the next one. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Here's another possible suggestion. Mountain View. You can see the Chatham Township Municipal Building there. And just, kind of a suggested shaded area. We do feel this location is a little bit more secluded, but it's obviously pretty open. That ball field isn't used a whole lot. So, this might be a good spot too. Again, just kind of weighing the pros and cons to all of these locations. And then I will shuffle through the next three. They are in the borough, but you might be curious. This is the one in Shepherd Collet. There has been some other development work going on there recently. We kind of tucked it into a new space. Memorial Field, this is library playgrounds. Kind of found another corner there. And this is what we call train station field between the train station parking lot and ECLC. All right, so Happy to answer more questions about location, but we'll get to your kind of next burning question, which is about funding the skate park. We are suggesting, we're proposing, following the really successful funding model that the Chatham Athletic Foundation used to secure the turf fields in Chatham. And that was a 1/3 divided cost among the Chatham Township, Chatham Borough, and private funding. All right, and again, if you can remember that picture I showed you, we're talking about this kind of longer lasting, smooth concrete skate park that requires much less maintenance than what we currently have. So here we go. So just breaking this down a little bit, we took the average of a per square foot cost as well as a size. And if you do the simple math, you get $183,000 per contributing entity. Again, with a modest amount of maintenance, it would, kind of just depend on size and that kind of thing. But it's really a one-time cost, a true kind of upfront investment. So for our part, our committee has already begun kind of our challenging task of raising our share. In fact, just from conversations over the last week, we've garnered soft commitments totaling nearly $75,000. And, it's important to emphasize that's without a location yet. So we feel pretty confident that we can build, a large grassroots network of support. And we can do that within a time frame of, say, 6 to 9 months. So already hard at work. So the last bit I'm going to share with you is the other bit of work we've done, which is some conversations we've had with design and build companies. And the one here, Spawn Ranch, is absolutely the go-to people you want involved in a project like this. They've been in the business over 20 plus years. They have worked with hundreds of municipalities. Many actually right here in New Jersey. I'll show you on the next slide. They're based in LA, but they get out here and they've done a lot of these parks in nearby areas. One specifically you'll see kind of on the bottom left there in Neptune, that was built on wetlands. So we do know it's possible and they do have experience with that. So they would be a really critical partner. We would leverage their really vast amount of experience and knowledge in moving forward. So briefly here, a suggested timeline. Right now we are, we're working on our project concept. We are reaching out to the Township Committee, the Borough Council, speaking to everybody we can, working to get that final site selected. We are, speaking to you now in the hopes of being in the, the next round, the current kind of budget season that is coming up. Where we'll work to build our end of the capital and, kind of move on from there. So we're really excited about this project. We would love to have the support of the Chatham Township Committee in this endeavor through a commitment of designated land and a share of funding. And, again, we really see the skate park as a valuable resource for the community, one that is unique and open to all. So investing in projects like a skate park are truly things that keep Chatham a vibrant place that, we all love to call home. So we really appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us, present this proposal. We're more than open for questions. I'll have to admit, technically, I'm not exactly sure how to allow my fellow committee members to jump on here. So maybe somebody could help me out with that. And I can either leave this up or exit out, but I will await further instruction.
Thank you, Crystal. That was an excellent presentation. And I think the Township Committee, I guess, well, procedurally here, let's open it up for comments and questions from Township Committee members and staff to discuss it right now. Looking at the agenda, we have reports, and then we have our first of two open public comment sections. So I think we'll stick with the agenda and invite comments from the public to be made at that open public comment session after our reports.
Very good.
And so, but for now, if we could open it up for comments and questions from Township Committee members and staff, that would be, I think that would be timely.
I'd like to thank Crystal and April and Rachel and all of the rest of the skate park committee who has been working on this. We first met, and I had the opportunity to meet with the developer from Spawn Ranch back before pandemic world hit, and the idea was to try and move forward with something like this starting in the January, February of last year timeframe. And it was really impressive, the builds that they've done, especially across New Jersey. Some of them have multi-use, meaning that they could also be used for concerts, local gatherings. I think that wasn't the one in Neptune, but I think it was one of the ones in the shore area. That was really a cool design, a multi-purpose design. And it was really encouraging to see. Is that the Holland Skate Plaza in Elizabeth?
Well, let's see here. Yes, yeah, that one, yeah, some of these have like picnic areas or, maybe space for concert venues. There's definitely ways to maybe add some interest or accessibility that goes beyond skating, as you've mentioned.
So I just want to thank them for continuing. We met again and went through some of the presentation, and I want to thank them for their commitment and their dedication and their patience, as this has been a multi-year process. And I hope that by this committee showing, the skate park committee showing their commitment to doing fundraising and getting this plan together, that we'll be able to move forward with keeping the skate park in the township as part of our recreational opportunities, because I do think it's important. So thank you very much, Crystal, and everyone else who put this together.
Happy to do it.
I'd also like to thank the committee. This was a wonderful presentation and a lot of work done. I just started on the committee this year, but I've been attending meetings for a really long time, and I've listened to the discussion and the disappointment with the loss of the skate park. And the committee over and over, and the administrator at the time, committed over and over that they would find a place for the skate park and they would participate in that. I'm supportive of moving this forward. My worry with the wetlands is, I worry about the increased price because I'm sure it costs more. And then, of course, compromising those wetlands. The other thing being on the finance committee, always worried about spending, especially in this environment with affordable housing costs going up and loss of revenue due to COVID. So that's always on my mind. So I jump right away to think of Morris County grant opportunities, recreation grant opportunities. And we'd love to be able to take advantage of that and to put it in a location. I remember when the kids came to speak, there were kids that came from, I think it was Randolph was one of the locations, Florham Park. So it really was, it is a regional asset, and there is some benefit, I'm not looking to push it to the borough, but there is some benefit to having it close to the trains and being able to support a Morris County grant because it's accessible to other nearby communities. So, definitely open to all of this. I think it looks beautiful, and it would be great if it could be a multi kind of use opportunity as well. I would want to work through some of the details. I am curious, did they tell you, was there an increased cost to building on wetlands, and how did they, to protect the wetlands, did you get any information on how they managed to do that?
I wonder if we can pull up Rachel, who has had more in-depth conversations with the design and builder. Is she able to get on?
What's her last name?
Rachel Nowicki's? So while she's trying to get on, Stacy, I just want to address to your point about it kind of being a little bit of a regional hub. There's, here in Chatham, when we want to skate now, the closest place is, a little tiny spot in Livingston. And other than that, we have gone to Bayonne, we have gone to Long Branch, Jersey City. It's kind of a hike. So I do know, Summit, Madison, Florham Park, New Providence. I do think there would be a lot of community support, not only in terms of helping us fundraise for our share, but, in terms of just, like all of our shared kind of parks among our close communities, it would add to that. Was Rachel able to hop on?
We don't see her name on the list of.
Okay. Or what about?
I can just jump in on some of that because.
Okay, I wasn't there on the very
phone
initial
number.
conversation, so yeah, Tracy, if you have a little bit more detail, that would
1016?
One of the questions that I asked the developer when I was there, because we have such constraints with wetlands, was there a design or did they have any design experience in an area that is either in a wetlands buffer area, not so much on true wetlands, but you can see from the Neptune design that is more of a raised design than it is dug in. And they said at the time that they do run into this in a lot of towns that they work in. And there is the ability to raise the skate park above to allow for water to flow underneath. And that would be one of the design features that they could offer. And it really depended upon the site before they could actually tell us what the extra would cost or how much diversion, we'd have, not diversion, but how much accommodation we would have to give to the wetlands. And speaking with John Rushke about this, about the, when we did the field walk a couple months ago, that's when the idea popped up for Nash, that depression that's used for current skating right now, we don't really have skating anymore. We have it once or twice a year, and then that just stays there. And the basketball court that's there is in real disrepair. And that gave the opportunity for a fairly large area that has parking, that has other recreational activities going on. But I did, in speaking with John, there is a 150-foot storm buffer, or wetlands buffer, in that site because it abuts the Fensky property. And there's a possibility of getting that down to 75 feet, but this would be something that we would need to look at. So not necessarily on top of wetlands, but a design like this might give us the opportunity, if we were close to a wetlands area, to be able to build something that would be more amenable.
And Stacy, I don't want to lose sight of your question about cost. So that's an easy enough question. We can go back to the design and builder and say, how does that change any sort of cost estimate? That's a really good point. So I'll make sure to follow up and we can get back to the committee with an answer.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just throw this over to some of our professionals for a moment. And maybe before I do, Crystal, you mentioned a presentation to the Joint Rec and now the Chatham Township. Is the Chatham Borough still upcoming, or have they already seen it? Or
They are upcoming. We did have just, some casual conversations with a few members of the Chatham Borough Council, just to kind of loop them in, and most likely will formally be presenting at their early December meeting.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, could you have any thoughts or comments? Kind of help us out here on what
Sure, Mr.
There we
Mayor.
go.
Crystal and your committee, this was a very nice presentation. It's it's really an excellent series of first steps to help get people focused on, what has to be done, what kind of timeline are you looking at, and things of that nature. One of the things that I'd like to emphasize is that the selection of the location is going to be critical because that's going to drive the cost. And you have requested that the township and the borough contribute money for this project. And if the township and the borough do contribute money for the project, the public contracts law will come into play. And the public contracts law for the state of New Jersey says that anything over $44,000 would require that we do a request for proposals. So we would we would put this out to bid. So that's just something that you would need to keep in mind, that since there's going to be public funds that would be involved, we would be following the public contracts law. And there would have to be a commitment from both municipalities for the contribution. I'd also like to suggest that that after the selection of the site, because that is critical, that when you're doing the fundraising, that the group open up some kind of a trust account and put money in that account, so that people can see that it's there, it's being built up, and that you have a goal. And it's going to be important that that the borough and the township not be left high and dry. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but there are many times when fundraising goals are set, but they're not always matched, and then at the last minute, the municipalities are asked to come up with the additional funds, and that adds delays. But I think this is a good series of first steps, and I just encourage you to look at the location, hone in on the location, so that we can all see what's the cost. Because if it's going to be at Nash Field, there would be some drainage issues, and we might as well find out what's going to be the total package, so that we can go out, talk again to the skateboard park developers, and then see how a bid package gets put together. So in essence, those are my comments, but very, very nicely done, and good luck. I will not, well, I guess I have white hair, but I have a skateboard here in the office, and I have a skateboard at home, but I don't go skateboarding around here. But anyway, good luck.
You can be at the ribbon cutting. You can take the first turn on the half pipe, but just
everybody would like that with my suit on too.
So I mean, yes, public bid, and again, that's absolutely, we understand how that'll work. Just in terms of the fundraising, we don't want to leave anybody high and dry. We are already in conversations to get assistance in establishing that 501c3, that really important nonprofit status to, accept donations. And we are also working to, bring out a little more expertise. I know we have it here in Chatham. The resources of volunteers is, mind-blowing. So I know there's grant writers out there. I have a friend who I'm hoping to get her on board. Things like this to, really not only, reach out at a grassroots level, but, very seriously look for some grant opportunities. I know they did have some in the original skate park. We'll revisit those, like the FM Kirby Foundation, for example, and others. So it is an important point, and obviously we want you to know we are vested in this, and willing to not only put our time in it, but a little skin in the game. So appreciate your feedback very much.
Sure, and just I pulled my file from last year and I was looking, there were 12 locations that there had been discussions about for the possible relocation of the skateboard park. And I guess that was in April of 2019, so I'd be happy to share that with you sometime, or with, as well as with our deputy mayor, so.
I think that definitely we'd like to offer the cooperation of our administrator and our engineer, John Rushke, who's on tonight's call. Probably we're talking about really in the start of the next year with the holidays and with the schedule of your presentation in Chatham Borough, but definitely keep this moving forward. John, did you have any comments or thoughts that for tonight, or?
Yes, Mayor, I just, let me see if I can, Greg, can you let me share my screen?
Here, I'll stop.
Crystal, if you want to...
Yep, I will stop sharing. There we go.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, share. I just want to set a realistic expectation regarding Nash Field. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so we've delineated wetlands in 2015 on Nash Field. And one of the reasons why we did the delineation is that we were, in fact, within the area that you're showing, we were thinking of possibly a hockey rink in that area or some other feature, but hockey was being kicked around. So we did the delineation. We did find wetlands are basically following the wood line that we have along, there's a detention basin here, and it did follow right along the wood lines here. We have wetlands that turns into a ditch and a swale. And the LOI determined that we have exceptional wetlands in the area, which is not a surprise. We have that, throughout most of the wetlands connected to the Great Swamp are going to be classified as exceptional. So exceptional has 150-foot wetlands buffer. And so, this is basically the limit of the buffer, the 150 feet. And it does encompass the entire area. And DEP does typically prohibit any impervious coverage or any intense development within 75 feet of the wetland. So they'll let you break it out and they'll let you, within the 75 feet to 100, they'll let you do certain activities, they'll let you average, but within that initial 75 feet, they generally prohibit a lot of activities, and we fall within that 75 feet. And, back when we discussed this with the DEP back in 2015, we did not get, the cooperation of the DEP that this is a viable project. And we would have to apply for an individual permit. An individual permit requires that you do an alternative analysis. And so basically you have to demonstrate that there's no other location within the township that's viable for this. So I think, just on a realistic standpoint, I think Nash Field is going to be a very difficult site to try to permit to get the location at Nash Field. But I think if we look at Mountain View on the other hand, like you said, wetlands are everywhere. We do there's a wetlands basically comes up to the wood line here. We know it's exceptional value, but it doesn't come up very far in this area here. So I know you were targeting this location. You may be right outside the buffer. And like I said, if you're within that 75 feet to 100 feet, usually you can get permitting for that. There's permits that we can apply for, and so you're not going to be within a 75-foot area here. So, Mountain View does have some merit to look at it a little bit more intensely, and this is probably a more viable project to look at versus Nash Field.
Thank you, John. It's
Yeah,
certainly
that is helpful. So again, one thing I don't know about Nash and kind of the restrictions you talked about is that, in the skate parks, again, going back to kind of something Tracy mentioned, right? So one thing they do, they raise it up and the drains are underneath. So, I don't know if that's different than like putting a paved basketball court there, for example. Like, are they?
I've done a lot of DEP permitting. I'm just trying to be frank regarding the expectation on this site. It's like, I know what you're talking about, the elevation and everything. It's just when you're dealing with the circumstances that we have here within that inner 75 feet, it's going to be a challenge. And so this will probably, all the sites that you list from an environmental standpoint, this is going to be a very, challenge.
All right. Well, we don't need to make it harder than it needs to be. So we appreciate that input.
So when you're also talking about an elevated concrete, platforms and stuff, now all of a sudden your cost has gone up substantially. So I think Nash, you can keep it on the radar, but be aware that this is going to be a very environmentally constrained property. It's going to intense permitting, and it may even require some mitigation efforts. With the mitigation efforts, then also adds cost to the project. So just trying to put that realistic expectations on Nash is that it's going to be a challenge. But but on the Mountain View next to the building, that's a more viable project, and we certainly can look at that a little more closer.
That's good to know. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John. Certainly not a deal breaker, just, and we certainly look forward to working with you as we go forward on this. So again, thank you for an excellent presentation. And as Bob said, there are actually other potential sites around the township that we could look at together as well. So we will go on to reports, and I asked Township Committee members to keep their reports as brief as possible. Then we'll have a public comment session, and we'll begin the public comment session focused on the skate park. Again, in appreciation that there might be some younger residents of the township who might want to chime in, so we'll try to get to them as quickly as possible. So again, thank you, Crystal, and we'll get back to the subject in just a few minutes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So that brings us to reports. Stacy, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. And thank you again to the Skatepark Committee, that was great. The planning board met on November 2nd. The open space element of the master plan has been updated, and that was discussed at that meeting. There will be a public hearing to get input from the public on the next meeting, which is November 16th. So again, that's the open space element of the master plan. I want to thank the Open Space Committee for the wonderful job they did, led by their chair, Joe Bezrelian. Really great job updating that part of the master plan. So I hope residents will be able to join us to give input on the 16th. Also on the agenda on the 16th is the Oak Knoll School is looking to expand their ability to use the fields. So where it was spring and fall and somewhat limited use, they're looking for year-round use, 7 days a week, so that they can, provide their kids with camps during the summer or sports clubs, things of that nature. So they want to be able to provide more. And they've done traffic studies and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that also is on the agenda of planning board for November 16th. I hope residents will attend to give their input. The Board of Health met on Tuesday. The 2 flu clinics were run, and those were very successful. The second one was today. I did not get input on that, but the first one was very successful. It is interesting that because of COVID and all the precautions everybody's taking with masking and limiting interaction, washing hands, the hope and the optimistic hope that is to have a very mild flu season. But it is still recommended, because we're dealing with COVID, to get your flu shot. If you were not able to take advantage of those flu clinics, I definitely recommend reaching out to our health supervisor and see if she's getting some additional doses. I do not know at this point actually if she has doses, but please feel free to reach out to her. She's a wonderful resource. The other hot topic, as everybody knows, is the cases of COVID are increasing in the state of New Jersey and also in Chatham Township, which is very disappointing. During the summer, June, July, August, we had about 10 cases a month. September, because of school opening, issues with a party at the time, it was a little bit of a surge, and then it calmed down again in October, and it's on the rise. We already have 10 cases, confirmed cases, and I think it's another 3 probable cases based on the type of test that was taken just in the first 12 days of November. So the numbers are surging. A big area of concern has been sports teams, and the governor had, if you're watching all the updates, is limiting interstate sports. youth sports because of problems that they're having with transmission with sports. And they're finding there's a trickle effect. So kids in Chatham Township might not be spreading it because there hasn't been any spread in the schools, and a lot of the cases have been adults in Chatham Township. But you'll have kids who are involved in club sports crossing into other communities, and they're indoors doing their activities with other kids from other communities, and then somebody gets a coach or another child from another community, has a positive case, and everybody is quarantined from that group. And then you have to worry if there's transmission from that group. And they are finding more and more sports transmission. So our Board of Health officer is very much on top of that, very concerned about that, has been speaking with the township, with the borough, and with the school district to see if we need to take measures to get ahead of any additional surge, really to try and control things before they get out of control. So I guess I would stay tuned. Things are changing daily. The governor did just put out a notice also today that they're allowing municipalities to make a decision whether or not to close non-essential businesses at 8 p.m. So I assume that's something that will come up, might come up at some point. But just so, it's on everybody's radar to keep an eye on what's going on a daily basis. And the other thing, I think it's on the agenda today, we have a Board of Health contract that we're renewing. It's just being configured a little bit differently. So we used to work through the Madison Board of Health. It is the same Board of Health officer, but he is the Board of Health officer for Bloomfield. He will continue with us. Madison Health staff will continue with us. We'll have the same exact support. Fortunately, it's costing us a little bit less, so that's awesome. That was a win-win there. So we'll be reviewing that contract tonight and hopefully approving that contract tonight. And it was recommended by the Board of Health Committee to approve that contract. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Stacy. Any questions or comments from anybody? Celeste, would you have anything to report? After your...
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. A couple of little short things. The community garden is cleaning up for the year, and applications for preserving your plot for next year has to be in by December 5th. And the applications and the rules of etiquette are on our website, or they will be on shortly. And that's it for the community garden. And the Historical Society has been awarded a Morris County Historical Preservation Trust grant for $16,600 for repairs of deteriorating sections of the schoolhouse, and then upgrades and replacements, and they expect that to be completed by October 2022. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Celeste. Any questions or comments? Karen, could you have anything to report?
Yeah, I do actually. Our good friends at the Recycling Center at our Department of Public Works will be putting out their schedule for the year ahead for the year 2021 with obviously some advice and caveats for appropriate recycling. This is what it looks like. The schedule is on here. It's bright green, actually like highlighter color green. When it does arrive in the mail, which it will within the next couple of days, please save it, circle the dates. Obviously, please heed the recycling guidelines. Also, here, don't put your recycling out in garbage bags at the curbside. They have to be in containers. Don't recycle in plastic bags. Don't recycle plastic bags. The only thing that should be in a plastic bag are materials from your shredder. So please do be on the lookout for this. Also, here is the 2021 compost sticker, which you can get by contacting DPW. They will be available after March 1st, 2021. So when you find that, please make sure you put it in a prominent place in your home. Speaking of what you can send to the shredder, the Senior Center is really proud to report another great
shred event from Saturday. Our community continues to take advantage of that really nice service and continues to support our senior center. They are terrific. The shred event is terrific. It's helpful for our community, obviously. They raised nearly $5,000 in Saturday's effort. So thanks to everybody who came out to support the senior center, and thanks to the senior center for continuing to provide that neat fundraising opportunity for us. Please do, if you have any questions regarding the senior center, consult their website, consult their newsletter. They are trying to move some events indoors at social distances. Obviously, with the increase in COVID cases, as Stacy mentioned earlier, and as none of us can avoid who pay any attention to television, they're going to be obviously extremely in tune to what happens. They do run an abundance of programs via Zoom, and anybody who needs some help with Zoom is free to contact the senior center. They're more than willing to try to get folks a little bit more involved in that way. Heaven knows it's new, uncharted territories for an awful lot of people. Let me see. New Jersey American Water, once again, we discussed it before, will be replacing the water main underneath Heritage Drive. That project was scheduled to start this week. They are looking now towards starting it on Monday of next week. So the entire water main under Heritage Drive at the Chatham Glen condominiums, that will probably be about a 6-week project. But ample notice will be made to residents of Chatham Glen, of Heritage Green, and also they do maintain their own website, which will contain up-to-date information. I would like to point out, or at least to reflect just briefly on the fact that yesterday was Veterans Day, and to all of those in our community and surrounding towns who proudly and nobly wore the uniform of our American Armed Forces, those who came before us and those who led by example. We have a heartfelt thank you, at least I do personally. I am an unabashed patriot, and I certainly appreciate everyone who has ever volunteered to serve in defense of our nation. From tragedy to triumph, I think we owe all of our veterans the heartiest of thanks. So to all of those who once did serve our nation, I personally, and I hope I speak for all of us too, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions from other members of the Township Committee? Very good. Tracy, you'd like to have any reports? Tracy, you're on mute, Tracy. You're muted, Tracy.
I'm coming in, here we go. I'd like to echo the sentiments about Veterans Day, and I'd like to thank the Green Village Fire Department for keeping up their program. They do such a lovely job on the holidays, saluting our soldiers and our veterans. I'm sorry that I couldn't make it there today. I had a work commitment, but I know that Mike and Stacy and Celeste was there, and I'm sorry that I couldn't join you. It's a special time for me since my father served in World War II. It's a time for me to remember him and his commitment in serving in the European theater and fighting against fascism and earning his Purple Hearts and doing all of those things. So it's both a day to remember all of our men and women who have served, and it's also a special day for me to remember my father. So thanks to all the veterans out there. We also, we met, the Joint Rec Committee met, as I think Mike had mentioned. We did have the presentation from the skate park. But we also had a very long discussion about what was going to happen with winter sports. Some of the teams that are currently playing with fall sports, given the guidance that we've been getting and the information that we've been getting from Mike Fitzpatrick, our health officer, they're opting to cancel their last games. They are seeing, especially in the past days, 10 days, as Stacy has mentioned, some community spread, whether it's a trainer or a parent or a child or someone on another team that is requiring teams to quarantine. They were very concerned about it. I know soccer is just saying we're not going to play our last game too close to Thanksgiving and too many unknowns going on. Basketball is scratching their head trying to figure out what they could do, if they could even get some outdoor games in. Wrestling, same thing. We're all just waiting for further guidance. Mike subsequently has told us that, Mike Fitzpatrick, our health officer, has subsequently told us that Madison is putting their winter recreational sports on hold indefinitely. That was news as of last night, after our meeting on Tuesday. So I expect that we will have another recreation. We left it that as the guidance dictates that we'll have another meeting to discuss this and potentially discuss putting a hold until we see what's going to happen. So we'll have to have some discussions about that at the township level, as well as the rec committee level. Carol's in touch with Mike, and also the rec folks in Madison. So this is all evolving right now. And we'll have to meet and make some sort of a determination, as well as speaking with Bob about the use of the facilities, and there's a bunch of things we have to talk about. So that's in process, and very sad that it's going this way, but we do have to be cognizant of the larger health picture for everyone involved. The other thing is that Colony Pool has not met, but I have gotten feedback from two of our longtime committee members, Dorothy Lee and Jackie Jacoban, that both of them will be leaving the committee. And at this point, we really have one person left on the Colony Pool Committee. So I am reaching out to any of you Colony Pool stalwarts who are members in good standing and who want to participate in Colony Pool to please come forward. We need to start planning for next year, putting together some marketing proposals, hoping for next year. So if you're out there, feel free to reach out and contact me, and let's see if we can get a good and thriving Colony Pool Committee back up and running again. And that's it.
Thank you, Tracy.
Tracy, can I just ask, obviously Chatham Borough has a different health department since, if I'm not mistaken, since they always had a different health officer. Is there any conflict or communication between our health officer and theirs when it comes to joint rec sports?
Yes, there is, and it's been a very symbiotic relationship given our school system, that they're dealing with both health officials for the school system. And we're doing sort of the same with the rec, and their health officer is making the same recommendation.
Yeah,
Mike Fitzpatrick, our Board of Health Officer, talks to, I think, is it Megan? But talks to the borough's Board of Health Officer multiple times a day. So they recognize that they have to have a coordinated approach.
Thank you. Okay, my report tonight is an update on the progress toward meeting the final 62 units of the township's affordable housing obligation. Tonight's agenda includes 5 separate actions regarding affordable housing. 4 of the 5 are routine in the sense that they update previous actions taken by the Township Committee. The only new action on tonight's agenda is Resolution 2020-251, which authorizes the signing of an agreement with Walters Cornerstone Development, LLC, to build and to manage our 62 units of affordable housing at 522 Southern Boulevard. We will discuss each item in detail when we get to it on the agenda, and the public is invited to ask questions and to make comments during the public comment sessions. Since the Township Committee's previous meeting on October 22nd, there have been a number of noteworthy actions regarding affordable housing. On Tuesday, October 27, representatives of the Township and Kronos Holdings met to discuss the purchase of the property at 522 Southern Boulevard. No agreement was reached, and at this time, no date has been set for further discussions. Kronos Holdings has filed a complaint opposing the township's stated intent to use condemnation to acquire the property if a mutually agreeable purchase price cannot be negotiated. A copy of that complaint is posted on the affordable housing page of the township's website. On Tuesday, November 2nd, representatives of the township and the Silverman Group met to discuss their plans for the development of the Noe Pond property at 395 Southern Boulevard. The Silverman Group has no plans to present at this time, but intends to make a public presentation of their conceptual plans at a township committee meeting in the near future. Also on November 2nd, the township closed on its purchase of 490 River Road for $650,000. The property at 490 River Road is the site of one of 3 group homes required under the township's affordable housing plan. The Fair Share Housing Center has withdrawn its lawsuit against the township and against Sterling Sun Homes. The lawsuit challenged the planning board's approval of both Dixie-Dale and Arbor Green and indirectly challenged the rezoning of Dixie-Dale Farms. Withdrawal of the lawsuit clears the way for progress on the development of both the Dixie-Dale townhomes and the Arbor Green affordable housing units at the Skatepark site. A copy of that lawsuit, which is now dismissed with prejudice, continues to be posted on the affordable housing page of the township's website. And last, but certainly not least, the township has been notified that Sterling Sun Homes intends to sell the Dixie-Dale property to Toll Brothers, New Jersey. Representatives of Toll Brothers told the township just this week that they intend to develop 53 units on the Dixie-Dale property as approved by the Township Planning Board. Sterling Sun will continue to develop Arbor Green and 4 of the 5 lots that it owns on Hillside Avenue across from Dixie-Dale. The 5th lot on Hillside Avenue will become the site of a group home, which will be the 2nd of 3 group homes required under the township's affordable housing plan. Looking forward, tomorrow, November 13th, our court-approved compliance schedule requires that the township submit a progress report to the Fair Share Housing Center and to Superior Court Judge Michael Gauss, who was overseeing our affordable housing agreement. Township Attorney Albert Cruz also must submit all of the exhibits required for the final compliance hearing. That final compliance hearing on the township's affordable housing plan is scheduled for 1 month later on December 14th, again before Judge Gauss. And that brings us up to date with the most recent developments on our affordable housing. And again, we'll be discussing those further as we get to them, each item on the agenda. Greg, anything to report from the Township Clerk's office?
Yes, I just wanted to give a quick post-election update. Normally, by this time of year, we would have known who the winners were. Because of the nature of the mail-in election, the county is still counting all the ballots. The numbers have been changing on a fairly daily basis, and I wanted to thank the public, thank the candidates for everybody's patience as the county continues to do their count. The county has been posting at least twice a day updates on the county clerk's website, so that way the public can check that. If I may quick do a share screen to show anyone of interest. If you go to the Morris County Elections website, that's elections.morriscountynj.gov. On the left-hand side of the screen, there's the election results, which takes you to this page, and if you follow the link, you will wind up going to, let's see, eventually this will load. It'll take you to this page where results countywide are posted, and it shows the date and the time that the updates were given. And if you scroll down, it'll take you to Chatham Township. And those who can see my screen can see that it's an incredibly tight race. So unfortunately, I don't know how many ballots are still to be counted, but it's still anybody's ballgame. So we stop that. Beyond that update, I wanted to give a shout out to our poll workers. The election was run incredibly smoothly. I want to thank the public for, people generally use their mail-in ballots. We only had about 425 people at the polling place, several of them dropping off their completed mail-in ballots. But I wanted to thank the poll workers who are the people that really make elections work. In particular, I wanted to thank Doug Pitney, who's one of our longtime poll workers in town. He and I met the day before the election at the polling place to get everything started, set up. And he was an incredible help to me personally, helping things run smoothly. And that's pretty much it for elections. I just would ask people to continue to be patient as we await results. And the county has until the 23rd of this month to certify the elections. In addition to that report, I just wanted to quick note that the December meeting schedule will be changing. The meeting that was advertised for December 10th will be moved to December 17th. So, Ed, if you want to make a note, I will be sending out the Open Public Meetings Act notice for that. But December 17th will be our regular meeting for December. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Greg, can I just ask you about the polling results that you showed on the website? There are more up-to-date results from what I understand. Are they available to the public if they were to click around and look for them?
Yes, what I shared is what the Morris County Clerk's office has posted as of a few hours ago. I anticipate that they'll have another update tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. As far as I know, they're still working on getting the mail-in ballots finished counted. Once they finish counting the mail-in ballots, then they'll be able to proceed to count the provisionals. I think there were 287 provisional ballots cast in Chatham Township. Once they start processing the provisionals, they have to go through each one and make sure that they are valid votes and that the person wasn't voting a second time. Do you have a further question?
Yeah, the total vote that I just saw was 12,716. So I think
that's obviously more than we have voters. I don't know why they posted
no,
that.
obviously, no, because it was a vote for two situation.
Yeah, so exactly. For those of us who are township residents, when any of us voted, assuming that you picked two candidates,
Right.
that's two votes. So whatever the total number is there, divide that by half, and then that's
Right.
how many voters will have voted.
Right, no, I'm just curious as to the total vote that you showed on the website, but I can look that up.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of confusing, but it's that Common Core math.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Greg as well. The system ran terrifically. There were no problems. The space was wonderfully spaced out for social distancing. The direction was clear. You went to one side to put your mail-in ballot in. You went to the other side. The poll workers were wonderful. All of the preparation, Greg, that you put into this, which I know that there was a lot, is greatly appreciated. And I just can't say it more. Thank you so much for putting all of this together, because it was very difficult to get it all together and to understand what all the guidelines were going to be and envision how this was actually going to work. I'm glad that we only ended up having about 425 people. It was a steady stream, but not a whole lot. So thank you for all of your hard work in making this run so well.
Thank you.
Yes, Greg, thank you. You always do a good job with everything.
Very good. If no other comments, John Rushke, anything from engineering to report?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Albert Cruz, anything from legal?
No, Mr. Mayor, but I would like an opportunity to address the Township Committee regarding the affordable housing matters on the agenda.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you. And Bob, anything from administration?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have 7 items to report on. The first item that I'd like to report on has to do with the township's best practices inventory. By statute, we have to, every year, the township and every other municipality in the state must answer a series of questions from the state. This year, there were a total of 72 questions. If the municipality doesn't answer the questions, the state reserves the right to withhold some of our state aid. I have an issue with that, but that's a separate story. I do want to report that the township had received a very good score. We only had to answer no on one question, and that was if we had an accumulated absence liability trust fund. So that would be to pay for staff if they had absences. So that's something that's on our goals and objectives for in the future, but it's not something that has a budget impact at the moment. So again, by law, we have to report our best practices survey to the state. It was due by November 5th. We submitted it on November 3rd, and it also has to appear on an agenda, and there has to be some discussion about it in the minutes. So consider this the discussion about the best practices, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the Township Committee has, either by email or in person. The second item that I wanted to report on is I wanted to thank the Township Committee for holding the special meeting last Thursday so that we could apply for a grant related to COVID-19 expenses. The grant was filed on November 10th. The township submitted a grant application for $107,457. We're not sure what the state will accept, so we included additional items so that we would leave no money on the table. And the funding for the grant must be utilized by the end of the year, so that this is a very tight timeline. And that leads into the third item on my report. Resolution 220-252 is related to the grant application. The state has sent us an email that they would fund a 30-ton HVAC unit on the roof of the municipal building. There is one that's available, so the resolution helps to make sure that we can obtain this 30-ton unit with the HEPA filters and then have it installed before the state deadline of the end of the year, and then also obtain reimbursement for that. I'm also pleased to report that last Thursday and Friday, the new energy-efficient boiler was installed in the municipal building. This was part of a grant that the township applied for in March of this year, and it also involved new lighting and HVAC units with HEPA filters that will be being installed after the first of the year. But this is through a PSE&G direct install program. So we have an energy efficient boiler that replaces one that was installed. The original one was installed here in 1970. It was upgraded in 1987, and now we have a new energy efficient unit that so far it's working. That's good to report. I'm also pleased to report that Moody's on October 27th reaffirmed the township's AAA credit rating. So they're going to be releasing the report soon, but this is an affirmation of the good fiduciary responsibility and the work that the Township Committee has done, past and present, as well as our staff. So this is just something nice to end our year on, and then turn the corner as we work on our 2021 budget. I'd also like, in closing, I'd like to echo what Committeewoman Swartz and Deputy Mayor Ness said about Veterans Day. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank all of our residents who are veterans, and who put aside whatever thoughts they had for their personal safety and decided to help protect all that we hold dear to us, and we are all better off for the work that they've done and for the stance that they've taken. And I will also say that the day before was the 245th anniversary of the United States Marine Corps, and Marines are a different breed, but they also deserve to have a shout out for the anniversary of the Marine Corps. And that's my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Hoorah!
That's right. Any questions? Or
I would
comments?
also like to know, Bob, as you report on the stable condition of Chatham Township, that the state of New Jersey was actually downgraded last week as well, which is disheartening to all of us who will no doubt be forced to foot the bill for added borrowing costs from the state of New Jersey. Thank you so much.
Very good. That brings us to our hearing of citizens' petitions. This is the opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for specific ordinance hearings tonight. If you are watching our remote meeting via cable TV, please use one of the telephone numbers that you see on your agenda or on the screen, and then hit *9 in order to raise your hand and participate in the public hearing. And if you are participating via Zoom, just follow the Zoom instructions to raise your hand, and you will be recognized to speak. A couple of guidelines. When you raise your hand and are recognized, please say your name, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give the street number if you do not wish. All public comments will be limited to 5 minutes, and rather than use any of your time answering questions, we will wait until you finish speaking before responding. Each member of the public will be limited to one comment of up to 5 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment session. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments, namely each comment is limited to 5 minutes maximum, and each person can make only one oral or one written comment per public hearing. Written comments which significantly duplicate each other may be summarized rather than read in full, and this is all according to the guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. I'm going to ask people who have various topics to discuss, if you could hold back and let us first address any questions or comments about the skate park presentation, and then we'll go on to every other topic that people are interested in. And Greg, do we have any written comments that need to be read?
Yes, I do have 2 written comments that came in by the deadline this afternoon. First is from Mads and Sari Jepson, Green Village Road. Dear Chatham Township Committee, we have been proud Chatham Township residents for over 10 years, and we vehemently support the relocation and development of a new skate park in Chatham. Now more than ever, it is imperative that we provide our children with opportunities for safe, healthy activities. Ensuring the longevity of a well-maintained skate park is fundamental to that objective. Sincerely, Mads and Sari Jepson. And secondly, I will activate my camera. Secondly, from Tracy Krigler, who is a Chatham Borough resident for 33 years. Statement for the board. I'm sorry cannot be here virtually to tell you how valued the skate park has been to many children over the years. I remember the original group of parents that were instrumental in the development of the skate park. It was one of the first of its kind in this area, and since then, many towns have followed suit and developed a skate park of their own. As a town, we pride ourselves in providing many diverse activities. The skate park is one of these. I support the development and relocation of the Chatham Skate Park. And that, again, was Tracy Krigler from Chatham Borough. And those were the 2 that came in by the 3 p.m. deadline.
Thank you, Greg. Very good. And now we will invite people to raise their hands. And again, if you could focus first on the skate park presentation to let any of the, especially younger residents among us, to finish early. Greg, if you could recognize people in order.
Yeah, first up is Terry Cooper. Terry, you are active. If you could unmute and give your name and street.
Go ahead.
My name is Jack Cooper, Cooper. My mom is Teresa Cooper, Dale Drive. I'm in 7th grade at Chatham Middle School. I started skateboarding 2 years ago. I spent a lot of time at the skate park when I was learning. I have not been skateboarding lately because with the skate park closed, I can't get to other locations in New Jersey. I have 2 brothers and my mom has to drive them to activities also. The other locations are too far for me to ride my bike, so I would really like the committee to help us build a new park in the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate your thoughts on that.
Next up is Sejal Shah.
Hi everyone, this is Sejal Shah, last name S-H-A-H, Treetop Lane. I'd just like to ask a general question about the skate park in consideration of the spot being selected. If there was an opportunity to consider a spot that might be able to include a pump track as well. I do realize we may not have funds for this initial phase fully yet, but I think it would be great if we picked a spot that could incorporate a pump track. I do realize that the vendor that was being assessed is also familiar with building pump tracks, and while it might take more space, it does take less cost as compared to all the features of a full skate park. But if the two could be combined eventually, I think it would be a fabulous recreational addition to the township, as well as for an opportunity for the recreational league to maybe take on skating and biking as official sports for kids to be able to develop themselves.
Can I ask, Sejal, what is a pump track? I have no idea.
You beat me to it, Stacy.
So it'd probably be better coming from the skate park committee, but it is a family-friendly, typically on concrete, a family-friendly track for, that can accommodate all wheels. So it wouldn't be a typical BMX sort of track, but it would be a concrete sort of, you can imagine the skate park and off to the side or on the periphery, a concrete track of sorts that has mini hills where, you could have kids with scooters, you could have kids with bikes. It just starts, it's very family friendly. So you could have a combination of family friendly, young children, older kids, just really setting the stage for kids to learn at a young age and then being able to develop themselves further on. And, it'd be great if the kids could even, take that on as a sport within the rec league. And if we had the facility here, I think it would be really great.
Thank you for explaining that, CL.
Thank you.
Very good, Greg.
Okay, next up is Minati O'Connell.
Hi, it's Nadia O'Connell, O'Connell, Chatham Borough, Bartow Lane. I was just calling to find out if there were any updates on the Halloween parties that resulted in that one homeowner being arrested. We never heard any updates on that, so I was just wondering what was happening.
No updates on that. Stacy gave the update from the Board of Health on terms of our numbers and our concern about the direction we're going in, but nothing specifically on that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is, looks like Liza Letterman.
Hi, it's Liz Alterman, Alterman,
Yes.
from Minton Avenue in Chatham.
And I'll apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name.
No, that's okay, thanks. We've lived in the borough for 20 years, and I support the relocation and development of the new skate park. I think it's a great asset to the recreational offerings for our community, and I just want to thank the committee for putting together such a great presentation tonight.
Thank you, Liz. We agree.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is someone used for their name the meeting ID number. So whomever you are, 881-0449-1016.
You have the floor, number ending in 1016. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay.
I just have the thing to ask them to unmute, but hello?
Hello, are you there, 1016?
Hi, my name is Ben Noikis, Luana Colleen, and Nowikas. And I used to go to the skate park pretty much every day, and I loved it, and I met a lot of my friends there, and it's super fun. And now, without it, I haven't been learning as quick, and I haven't met as many new people at the different skate parks. And I'm really for the new skate park. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And we hear you and we appreciate the problem. And just to recap a little bit of history, the site of the skate park was and is zoned for affordable housing. And some of the earlier township committees provided for the skate park to be there, along with some very aggressive fundraising by supporters. But it was a great use of land that was land banked for affordable housing, but was not needed for that at the time. We've now gotten to the point where we do need that site for affordable housing, so that's one of the issues that's come into play. But the other issue is that the original skate park was built 17 years ago out of a wood understructure and a flexible plywood type of material ramp surface. And in researching it recently, we've learned that those materials are not being used anymore to build skate parks outdoors. Talking to people today, they say it never should have been used as an outdoor facility in the first place, that it's primarily designed as a temporary indoor competition kind of a setup. So we got 17 great years out of the existing skate park, but unfortunately it has outlived its lifespan. Pretty much every ramp there shows signs of deterioration, ranging from some soft spots and some cracks to others that have literally holes in the ramps. And almost all the ramps also have the screws are popping, that they no longer grip the wooden understructure. So it's not safe, and while we would like to be using it, even in it, if it was, it just is not possible right now. And we appreciate all of those skaters who love to skate, who recognize that that's a safety issue, and we just simply can't open it at this time. But that's just a little bit of history to explain why it is locked right now. But we do appreciate that it's a well-loved facility. Greg, anyone else with their hand up?
Yes, we do still have a few. Next up is Ian Mount.
Hi, my name is Ryan Mount. I'm 10 years old and I'm from Short Hills, Mount. I'm here to support the Chatham Skate Park project. Before it closed in the spring, my parents drove me to the skate park almost every day when I didn't have soccer or baseball because I love to skate. It's an awesome sport and it's definitely made me stronger and better at all of my other sports. I've met incredible new friends there, and it's a place where everybody is nice and friendly and kind to one another. Everyone helps each other, and we all miss having a safe and great place to go skate together. I really miss the skate park since it closed, and I hope the township can work with our families to build a new skate park very soon. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, next up is Hergel Varley. I'm very sorry if I mispronounce your last name. Varley Sentinkaya.
You have, you're muted at the moment, but if you would unmute yourself, you have the floor.
Yeah,
We can hear you now. Thank you.
unmuted. Perfect. I'm Hergel Varley, and Hergel Varley Setinkaya, Cetinkaya. I live in the township, and I'm here to ask for your support of development of a new skate park in town. My 13-year-old son enjoyed the time he spent in the Chatham skate park before it closed and was quite disappointed of the closing and kept asking me when it was going to reopen. It may sound funny, but it was hard for me to tell him that the rumor had it that it might not reopen. This is a great town with great people, and the kids of this town need an outdoor avenue for recreation and connecting with their peers. We adults always complain about the kids' screen time and that they don't spend enough time outdoors. In the same token, as adults, when we make decisions, we also need to think about the bigger consequences of our decisions. Certain lot that belongs to the town may be thought of better spent on an additional housing or correction facility, but I see best use of a lot spent as a skate park. It provides a channel for kids to engage in outdoor physical activity, which is not only enhances them physically, but psychologically, and strengthens their well-being through connection they create amongst each other. If I may say, a lot of activities our kids engage in are organized for them, like their soccer, basketball, club games, etc. Our community's kids need variety of outdoor recreational space where they can use at their own will and get together with their friends instead of congregating in the corner of an empty field because they have no better option. There's a growing anxiety and mental health issues among children. As per CDC, depression and anxiety among kids ages between 6 and 17 have increased over time, from 5.4% in 2003 to 8% in 2007 and 8.4% in 2012. Major studies in health and happiness directs us to human connection being the major contributor to well-being. And kids connect and bond best over activities. One of the most comprehensive studies of emotional well-being in history was Harvard's study of adult development. One of the messages that came through loud and clear from this study was that good relationships keep us healthier and happier, period. And for kids, these relationships are built in places like skate parks, not in front of the screens. We have to create spaces for our kids where they can stim off their energy in a productive way and connect with their peers. I feel very strongly that our town's investment in a skate park will actually be an investment of future generations' physical health and mental well-being, and that money and lot will be well spent. I want the Chathams to commit to a development of a new skate park in town. I want this for my son, but I also want this for a healthier and happier future of Chathams. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Varley.
Hi, my name is Christopher Sennett, SENN in teaching, and I live on Red Road, and I support the relocation of the Chatham skate park, because I love using the skate park, and because like it's not like a sports practice where the coaches give you drills and stuff. You can just do like whatever you want, and you don't have to like be doing a practice and like having set stuff you have to do. And I miss going there all the time because it's such a fun place to be, because like you see all these different people that you might not see everywhere else, and it's fun to like be with them and maybe make some friends there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for speaking up.
Okay, next up is Evan Diddig.
Evan Diddig, you have the floor. Evan, you just muted yourself. If you unmute yourself, you have the floor. Okay, you have the floor, Evan. Evan, are you there? Evan, we're going to move on to somebody else, and if you wanted to come back at the end and say something, feel free. Greg, would you recognize the next person, please?
Yes. Next up is Bob Higgins.
Hello?
Hello, Bob. You have the floor.
Hey, Bob Higgins, Higgins, 5J Road. I wasn't sure on timing if I was crashing into the skate park thing or if it's time to move on. I do support the skate park. I thought the presentation was amazing. But this was not specifically about that. This is a comment that is, I guess, a little bit more timely now that the election is over-ish, and there were a lot of feelings this year, a lot of micro and macro aggressions on both sides. And emotions are always very high in election years, and I think part of the tensions, and this is what I want to talk about, arise from what I'm going to call sign wars. And in my opinion, this year it was over the top to the point of being cartoonish. And I make cartoons for a living, so I kind of know this stuff. ShopRite was a catastrophe. I mean, seriously, anytime you wanted to go shopping, you couldn't help but seeing 800 signs, and it looked ridiculous. And you try to escape and go for a walk down the Great Swamp Access Road, and you're going to trip over 100 more. And I'm wondering if at this point an ordinance is in order. Not on people's personal space, and you can support the candidate that you want, and you should definitely do that and put it on your lawn, and that's great. But the over-the-top number of signs in every square inch, literally inch, of public space, it just got ridiculous, and it looks like trash. Trying to sell a house and having people come in from New York, and this is what they see in town? Really? So you don't have to deal with me that much longer because we are selling our house. But, it looks dumb. And I think it creates bad feelings for everyone having to constantly see that. And I think the bad feelings begin to then just manifest themselves into more bad feelings to the point where we saw this year people, and trashing signs and then throwing them on the police station front lawn and finger pointing and letters to the editors and accusations and then I don't even know whatever happened to that whole thing. There were 3 young women in a white car that was seen, and some friends of mine were accused of being in that, and I don't know what happened to that. So I am curious about that. But I guess my long-winded comment is it time to get some sort of public space ordinance, and we have a couple years before the next election, in place? That's it.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. It's a mess out there. And I've wondered for a while, I know there's all kinds of First Amendment rights to free speech, but I have wondered for a while if we can limit in some way the number of signs that are on public property. So, there really is no need for more than 2 signs for a particular campaign on a public space. Bob, have you had any experience, or Albert, in other towns with limiting on public space, how many signs are put in a location?
Yes.
And so it's doable, it's not a First Amendment concern?
You've got to think it's a First Amendment concern.
On private property, but I'm talking about, you still have your sign up, but you don't have to have 20, you could have 2. Do you understand? So if everybody's limited to 2 in a specific location, no, Karen, you don't like that idea? You're shaking your head no. You like 20
I think
signs?
we should be making laws abridging freedom of speech. You just call me a constitutionalist, if you will, but you can't make a law abridging free speech. I mean,
But we have ordinances, you can't have a 3-foot by 3-foot sign, you're limited on the size. We have all kinds of ordinances limiting what you're able to do.
Well, I think Bob Higgins, you can certainly see what restraints we are living with.
I think this was a skate park conversation to begin with.
Yeah.
I think we still have people in
Yeah,
line
I
waiting
think
to talk.
that, let's see if we can wrap up the skate park first. And I think since the election is still undecided, I think maybe it's a little bit premature for us to say some things that about it. So if there, I would suggest if anyone has their hand raised for the skate park, please leave your hand raised. If you're not talking about the skate park, could you lower your hand for a moment, and we won't cut you off. We will try to wrap up the skate park, and then we will give you plenty of time to call in again and raise your hands on whatever other topic you want to talk about. But if there are any other hands raised right now, let's try to, if I could ask everyone to please focus on the skate park now and finish it up.
And just as a reminder, if you've already spoken in this hearing of citizens, you'll have to wait until the next one to speak again. Someone named Ed, you have the floor. If you could give your name and street.
My name is Brandon Mahon, Mahon, at Coleman Avenue. I started rollerblading about 2 or 3 years ago, and I felt like I wanted to kind of get better because I was just going up and down my street, and it got to a point where it was a good way to get outside, but it wasn't exactly enjoyable. The first time I went to the skate park, I truly felt like it was a way for me to just go to the skate park, ride, and like always just find a new way to skate and do something. And even my friends that all skateboard and don't rollerblade like I do have inspired me to try and make up my own tricks or try and recreate the tricks that they do while I'm on rollerblades. And I'm just really happy that it's getting relocated. And even though it won't be the same skate park it used to be, it'll still be a new skate park that we can make new tricks on and have new possibilities in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Screen name of Mike Keltz.
Hi, my name is Max Belts, and I live on 173 Weston Avenue, and I would love to get back to the skate park. I used to go to the skate park several times a week or a month with my brother, Jake, and every single time we went there, we either went with friends or just met new people along the way when we were at the skate park. And I really support the development if we had a new skate park, and I think it would be really fun and enjoyable if we can meet even more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Max.
Hey, Deb Pettigene.
Hello, I'm Adam Pettigene. I live on Fern Avenue in the borough, Petitjean, and I am for the new Chatham Skate Park. I have never seen another skate park like it with the following factors, including community, obstacles, and general feeling of being safe there. It was also accepting, loving, and safe community for everyone. There was never conflict, and there was always new people there. Even if you saw the same people twice, there'd be even more. You'd have a bigger group of people. It'd be even more enjoyable. It would be much more enjoyable every single time you went back. Without it, I feel like less people are interested in getting outside, doing sports, being active, meeting new people, which is a big problem, especially for people in middle school or in Lafayette. So I think relocating the skate park is definitely important and not something that should be overlooked compared to other sports that if field space was taken away from other sports, it would not be a question to relocate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Evan, give it another try?
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Sorry about that. My computer audio built-in microphone wasn't working. But my name is Evan Dittig. I'm from Montclair, New Jersey. My last name is spelled Dittig. I'm an avid skateboarder myself, and I currently run a skateboard instructional program. I've been frequenting Chatham Skatepark when it was open for the past 3 years. I've skated there myself and taught hundreds of kids from Chatham and local neighboring townships how to. I was featured in Crystal's presentation earlier, which was awesome, by the way. And I just have to share all of my support for the skate park and relocating it. It's built so many of my personal friendships and connected with me with an awesome group of youth. I've taught Crystal's son Jack, Rachel's son Ben, countless others from the Chatham area. Yeah, it's just an awesome outlet for kids to get together, be outdoors, make new friends. It's awesome for girls to learn how to skateboard as well. We've got a huge increase of numbers and most out there and skating. And yeah, and I'd love to, work with Chatham Township in the future to create like a skateboard program for the youth to join in. We work currently with other recreational departments, different townships offering like a recreational skateboarding. And in the past, I've done personal lessons over at Chatham, but it would be awesome to create like a municipal program for the kids there. And I'm also happy to teach any of the councilman members how to skateboard as well. I know you guys were joking around earlier about learning how to skate, but if you're sincere and interested about it, I'm your guy, and I'll be happy to work with you guys on how to skate. You'll be dropping in no time.
It's a scary thought.
You got it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Have a great day.
Next up, screen name of Melissa Garlick.
Hi, my name is Melissa Garlick, Garlick, and I live at 20 Weston. I am calling in support of the redevelopment and relocation of the Chatham Skate Park. I have a 7th grade son, and I should say that we relocated from the area about 5 years ago from Michigan. And I will say that one of the things that drew us to the area, we were very charmed by Chatham as we looked at a number of communities we could move to, based upon its space for families and really the people that we met along the way. And it's been a really fantastic transition for us, for our 2 children. We have one in high school and one in the middle school, but specifically my son has really flourished with the environment of the skate park. I think it has provided us the truest sense of community. Being there and watching him and the friends that he has met and the families that we have met through the association of the skate park, it's one of the few, outside of the obvious, gets him away from the screen, gets him outside, gets him enjoying the outdoors, which is something so much this community, I believe, promotes, well-being and healthy minds. But it presents sort of personal challenges to these kids to be able to learn new skills and to accomplish those individually, but then as a community, to sit there and watch, and I know that a gentleman just called in earlier, to be able to mentor and teach and the support. And I just think that it really has created some good humans. And I think that that's something that within this day and age that we might lose sight of. I mean, there are the obvious outlets for these kids, but the community in which this has built and I have actually witnessed is something that I have not seen the likes of. We have organized sports that we participate in, but this is something that is done out of true passion and love. And I think that it would be a undervalue from my perspective not to invest within that opportunity as a community going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do not currently have any more hands raised.
Very good. We will move on from the topic of the skate park and invite anyone else to raise their hand now on any other topic that they'd like. And while they're doing that, I'd just like to thank everyone who did speak up and all those young skaters who took the time to voice their support. You're a very eloquent group, and we hear you. If I could suggest anything, I'd say if you haven't already connected with the group that is getting organized to develop this new skate park idea, please reach out to them, because I'm sure they would appreciate your activity and your support as well. And they will be making a presentation in early December to the Chatham Borough Council. So if you take a look on their website and see when their early December meeting is, you could connect that way as well. So if anyone has any other topic to raise their hand, now's the time.
We have a Casey Leonard.
Casey Leonard, you have the floor. You're muted at the moment. Very good.
Hi, my name is Casey Leonard. I live on Huron Drive in Chatham Township. I'm just calling to voice my support for the township purchase of the Charlie Brown site through any means necessary. I hope this will also hinder any Silver Moon Group development of Noe Pond. Obviously, as a township resident, we would hate to see the impact of a large overdeveloped site on Noe, the increased traffic, the overcrowded schools, etc. Also, on a personal note, we are members of Noe Pond, and we have such a personal attachment to it and would hate to see it destroyed. My 6-year-old had to write about his favorite place to be recently. It was Noe Pond Club. And on the class list of the best parts of her summer, my 5-year-old daughter's contribution was Noe Pond. It truly holds a special place in our hearts. I also urge you to do what you can to prevent overdevelopment for the sake of the wildlife that resides on the Noe site. As very early risers, we were often the first on the Noe Pond beach, and my kids loved trying to identify the animal prints on the sand. They often also noted the owls they could hear close by and the hawks that often flew over the tennis courts. So I truly thank you all for doing what you can to save our beautiful town from a builder's remedy. And I urge you to continue to work to do so both now in our current situation and down the line when the next round of affordable housing comes up in 2025. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next up is Meredith Mintz.
Hi, I'm Meredith Mintz, 14 Gates Ave. I would also just like to echo what was just said so wonderfully about acquiring Charlie Brown's and saving Noe. So I have a very similar experience. My first grader came home this year with writing his first paragraph, and it was about Noe Pond. Noe is my pond. I love it. It makes me happy. And we too like to look at the wildlife around Noe, and I agree with everything that was just said. So thank you so much, and please continue your hard work.
Thank you. That's it. We don't see any other hands raised. Seeing no one, we'll close this public comment session. We will have another one at the end of the meeting, and we do have separate public hearings on 5 different ordinances that are ahead of us, so we'll move on. And the next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. So, Greg, if you could read the resolutions on the titles on the consent agenda, please.
Yes, this evening we have Resolution 2020-237, budget transfers, 2020-238, payment of bills, 2020-239, approving meeting minutes, 2020-240, approving executive session minutes, 2020-241, release of escrow balances, 2020-242, refunding overpayment of taxes, 2020-243, authorizing federal aid agreement, 2020-244, authorizing agreement with Greenman Peterson, Inc. for Safe Routes to School design assistance, Shunpike Sidewalk Replacement Project, Pine to Lafayette. Resolution 2020-245, receipt of reports, 2020-246, canceling unexpended balances, and 2020-247, cancellation of stale dated checks.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions or comments from anyone on the Township Committee? Can I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Next is the first of 5 ordinances that are up for public hearing and final adoption. Greg, could you read the title of the first ordinance, please?
Let's see, it's ordinance 2020-18, an ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, regarding a private storm drain inlet retrofitting.
Thank you, Greg. John, can I ask you to give just a brief synopsis of this?
Yes, Mayor. This ordinance is required to be imposed due to state requirements regarding stormwater management. Basically, the ordinance requires storm grates on private property, commercial property, not residential property, but on commercial property. When they renovate their parking lot, they have to convert the grates to be to a specific size to limit debris from getting into the storm system. So it's just a design for commercial parking lots.
Thank you, John. Any comments or questions from anybody on the Township Committee?
I actually do. John, to your knowledge, how many storm drain covers, the ones that are bicycle safe, if that's what they're referring to, are going to have to be placed in our township, and at what cost? Any idea?
Well, there's already a state requirement for the municipality to change out the bicycle safe grates in these grates whenever we pave a roadway.
Okay.
So we've been spending thousands of dollars since 2007 when the regulations first came out, changing it on the municipal roads. This ordinance is now to impose that on commercial property to do it on lots. So this is not something that's new.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-18?
Public hearing.
Public hearing, I'm sorry. I'd like to open this up for public hearing. Any questions from the public?
We do have one hand raised. Francis Orabona. The floor is yours to ask questions or comments about ordinance 2020-18.
Yes, hi, thank you. I was just actually calling in to support the township's attempt to acquire the Charlie Brown's property.
Francis, I will mark you down as being in support. This is a public hearing that is specifically focused on these storm sewer drains. We closed the public hearing on all of the topics that were other than these private ordinances. But we certainly will mark you down as in support of it. But in order to stay within our procedures and not to set a precedent for other deviations, I need to move on and keep the focus on this one topic.
And there is another hearing later that you're welcome to speak in.
There will be a public hearing again on all topics at the very end of the meeting if you wanted to go into more detail. But we definitely have the sense of your call already. So thank you on that.
Thank you.
Mayor, that was the only hand that was raised.
Okay, very good. So I will close that public hearing. And if there are no questions or comments from anyone else on the Township Committee, I'll ask for a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-18.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Our second ordinance that's up for a public hearing and final adoption is 2020-19. Greg, could you read the title on that one, please?
An ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, regarding improper disposal of waste.
Very good. And John, could I ask you again for a brief synopsis?
Sure. Again, this is another ordinance that in order to, that's required by the state in order to stay in compliance with our stormwater permit. It's a very straightforward ordinance which prohibits the discharge of improper material into our storm drains.
Thank you, John. And I will open up the public hearing for any comments from the public on this ordinance. The floor is open for anyone with anything to say about this ordinance. Seeing no one, we'll close that public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from anyone on the Township Committee? No. Again, hearing no one, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Greg, roll call, please.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Our third ordinance for public hearing and final adoption tonight is 2020-20, pet waste. Greg, could you read the title, please?
An ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, regarding pet waste. It's very simple with this one.
There you go.
We'll open the public hearing on this ordinance if there's anyone with a question or comment from the audience. Any hands raised, Greg?
No hands raised.
Very good. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from members of the Township Committee?
I would just like to actually ask a hypothetical, what will it take before we get people to stop disposing of their pet waste improperly, whether it's a state mandate? We already have laws on the books here. Do you think this one will do it? Or are we going to continue to have a problem with people allowing their pets to actually put their refuse in places which can't be collected properly?
Good question.
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
No one wants to step into that one.
Very good. Can I have a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
John, I didn't ask you for a brief synopsis on that one, but I guess it's self-explanatory.
It was.
Our next ordinance is 2020-21. And Greg, if you would read the title, please.
An ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey regarding stormwater control.
Thank you. And John, if you could give a brief description of this one, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, Mayor. This is a repeal and replace ordinance. It is not a substantial change to how we manage stormwater. This ordinance specifically regulates major developments, which is developments which disturb more than 1 acre of disturbance or adds more than 1/4 acre of impervious coverage. This reflects changes in the state's design criteria for major developments, and again, it's not a major change or a modification on how stormwater is regulated. It does expand upon certain design techniques, such as when addressing water quality, there's a more emphasis on green infrastructure, which instead of having a more pre-engineered or pre-manufactured devices, they want you to do more of tree wells and natural basins versus mechanical devices. So there isn't a lot of change, not a lot of changes in the ordinance, just some design changes that are reflected based on the state standards.
Thank you, John. Any questions or comments from anyone in the Township Committee?
Mr. Mayor, before you proceed, this ordinance is considered a part of the zoning ordinance, and on November 2, 2020, the planning board did review this ordinance and found that it was not inconsistent with the master plan. The Township Planning Board also reported that there was a small typographical error in section 1, parentheses A and parentheses, where it reads management bumps. That should have been BMP, best management practices. The clerk has corrected that error. So when you, and I view it as non-substantive, it's simply a correction of a typographical error, probably auto-corrected by Word. You're adopting that ordinance with that correction.
Thank you, Albert. I will now open this up for the public hearing on this ordinance. So if anyone from the audience has a question or a comment, please raise your hand. No one? No. Seeing no one, I will close that public hearing. And again, is any questions or comments from members of the Township Committee? If not, could I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Very good.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And our fifth and final ordinance for a public hearing and final adoption tonight is 2020-22. Greg, if you could read the title, please.
An ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 29 titled Affordable Housing of the Revised General Ordinances to address the requirements of the Fair Housing Act and the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls regarding compliance with the Township's affordable housing obligations.
Thank you, Greg. Albert, could I ask you to give a brief synopsis on this ordinance?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As you indicated at the beginning of the meeting, this is one of the actions that the Township Committee is taking, which mirrors prior action it already took. The Township Committee has had for a long time an affordable housing ordinance. That ordinance was amended earlier this year, but since that amendment, the Township entered into a settlement agreement on July 23rd with the Fair Share Housing Center, and as a result of that settlement agreement, there was a fairness hearing in which the court approved the settlement agreement. This ordinance is an amendment to the existing ordinance to add, for example, the new compliance mechanisms the group homes, the 522 Southern Boulevard property, and to make other technical corrections to make it consistent with the township's affordable housing settlement and the housing element and fair share plan that was recently adopted by the planning board. The planning board did review this ordinance also on November 2, 2020, and found that it is not inconsistent with the master plan, so the township committee does have jurisdiction to proceed to a public hearing, and if it so chooses, adopt this ordinance.
Thank you, Albert. With that description, I'll open up the public hearing for any comments or questions from the audience. Now's the time to raise your hand if you have any questions or comments on this ordinance. No one? Okay. Seeing no one? Going once? Going twice?
Oh, we now have...
Nope, we have one hand?
Yes.
Very good.
Sharon Tether?
It's actually Tom Tether, 115 Huron Drive, in the township. How are you?
Very good, Tom. Thank you for calling in. You have the floor.
Thank you. Just a question of clarification. What impact does this amendment have on the plan and in the prior amendments? Is this effectively to now designate 522 Southern Boulevard, if I have the address right, the Charlie Brown site, as the new site?
The answer is yes, but Albert, would you give that in legalese?
Yeah, no, you are correct. This ordinance does not designate a site. It is basically the rules and regulations of how affordable housing in the township of Chatham is governed. It does, I specifically identify the three group home sites. It does identify 522 Southern Boulevard, but that's not the purpose of this ordinance. The purpose of this ordinance is to set the ground rules in essence as to how affordable housing is going to be administered within the municipality. One of the features of this ordinance is a municipal-wide set-aside. So whenever a new development is approved by either a zoning variance or a zone change of 6 or more units to an acre, there has to be a 20% set aside for affordable housing, consistent with the vacant land analysis that the municipality has taken. So it's basically the ground rules on how the township and the affordable housing agent will administer affordable housing in the township.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. That's it for me.
Thank you. Any other hands up, Greg?
No, Mr. Tether was the only one.
Very good. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing on this ordinance. Are there any questions or comments from anyone on the Township Committee? And if not, could I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Stacy moved and Celeste seconded.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. We have two ordinances to be introduced tonight. Greg, if you could read the title for ordinance 2020-23.
Yes, it's an ordinance granting renewal of municipal consent to Comcast to construct, connect, operate, and maintain a cable television and communication system in the Township of Chatham, New Jersey.
Thank you, Greg. Albert, you've been working on this with our Communications Committee of the Township Committee. Could you give a brief synopsis of this?
Yes, one of the cable operators within the township, Comcast, their franchise to operate within the municipal right-of-way has expired. Municipalities govern the use of their rights-of-way, and whenever any utility, and the cable company is considered a utility, wants to use that right-of-way, the municipality has to provide its consent to the use of the right-of-way. So this is typically called a franchise agreement. It really is, that's a misnomer. This is the right to use the municipal right-of-way. Earlier this summer, the township held a public hearing with respect to continuing the franchise or the municipal consent with Comcast or to Comcast, and the standard for denying a renewal is whether or not the cable company has the legal, financial, technical ability to proceed or to provide that service to the township residents. My recollection was that there was no testimony given by the members of the public that would dictate or indicate that any of those conditions were not met by Comcast. So the next step was to negotiate a municipal consent ordinance, and this is what is before you. It is for 10 years. It provides for a continuation of the statutory franchise fee, so the municipality gets paid annually 3.5% of the gross recurring revenues or charges of Comcast, and what that basically means is basic cable service, not premium channels. The franchise territory is the territory within the township. And one of the things that was accomplished through this ordinance, or that will be accomplished with this ordinance, is that Comcast will make a payment 6 months after it's approved by the Board of Public Utilities of $35,000 to the municipality for its cable-related needs. The current access channels are all continued, and it is a typical ordinance that is adopted by municipalities to grant their consent. There was one typographical ordinance and one typographical error in the ordinance that I emailed to you earlier this week. There was no section 20. It was skipped, and so it has simply been renumbered, and that ordinance has been provided to the clerk, and you will be introducing it if that's your pleasure with that correction in it.
Thank you, Albert, for all the hard work that you and everyone else involved with this have put into this over a long period of time. And that will be the subject of a public hearing and discussion at our December meeting. But this is just the introduction. Can I have a motion to introduce?
So moved, and I'd also like to thank Tom Salvis. Tom has put in a tremendous amount of work on the cable franchise, keeping track of Comcast, of going through our current equipment, which is our current equipment that we use to televise our meetings, which is very, very old, has been working with Alex. Hi, Alex. To kind of cobble it together to get us through all of this. The $35,000 payment was initially lower, Albert, and thank you for your efforts in bringing that number up so that we can use that $35,000 to bring in a consultant to help us move forward with new equipment that will marry the technology between Zoom and our televised broadcasts, so that it's not so cumbersome and difficult to get these meetings up on our website for everyone to see who couldn't see. It has been a very long term effort, at least the 2 years that I've been working on it. with Mike and with Tom Salvis and with Albert. So thank you very much looking forward to wrapping this up and getting some new equipment in there.
Thank you, Tracy. I think that all began with a motion to introduce, so I'll ask for a...
motion, yeah. I just wanted to recognize Tom because he did such a tremendous job, and we're
Very
still
true.
not letting him go. He tries to retire, but we're not letting him go.
Very true. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
Very good. Greg, can I have a roll call?
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly.
Yes.
Public hearing will be scheduled for December 17th.
Our second ordinance for introduction tonight is 2020-24. Greg, if you could read the title for that?
An ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, repealing and replacing sections 6.41, 6-4.1, 6-4.2, and 6-4.3 of the revised general ordinances of the Township, regulating the hours of sale of alcoholic beverages within the Township.
Thank you, Greg. And I'll take this one. This is being undertaken at the request of two of our packaged goods stores in town who asked if we could tweak their hours of operation to align better with those in surrounding towns so that they were not at a disadvantage. And under the present circumstances where we're trying to do everything we can to support our local businesses, this seemed like a reasonable request that we could put out there for consideration. But basically there are four areas of change. One is that on Sundays, the liquor stores would be allowed to open at 11 a.m. At the moment, it's noon, so that would be 1 hour earlier on Sundays. On weekdays, it would actually be 1 hour later. The opening time would be moving from 8 a.m. till 9 a.m., and that brings it into compliance with state regulations. On Christmas and New Year's Eves, when it falls on a Sunday, this ordinance would provide that Sunday be treated as a weekday, and the liquor stores be allowed to open at 9 a.m. And then on New Year's Day, it actually tightens the restriction. Under the existing ordinance, they can stay open until 5 a.m. This would bring it back to 2 a.m., even though our liquor stores do tend to close all by 10 o'clock anyway. But that's some adjustments, and that's a brief description.
Mayor, just to add to that, the 9 a.m., that's to keep our ordinance in line with state regulations, the New Jersey Administrative Code. The state regulations, they prohibit anything before 9 a.m., so just kind of bringing us into order with statute and administrative code.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fundaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness? If you could unmute yourself so we can have your voice on the record.
Could you unmute?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
And public hearing will be on December the 17th.
Thank you, Greg. We now have a number of resolutions for tonight. Greg, could you read the title to Resolution 2020-248?
We'll just get to that in the packet.
We're throwing things at you hot and heavy here tonight, Greg.
Okay, Resolution 2020-248, a resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, endorsing the Township's 2020 amended Housing Element and Fair Share Plan.
Thank you, Greg. Albert, could you give a brief description of this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Consistent with the prior explanation, this is an amendment to the Housing Element and Fair Share Plan to make it consistent with the settlement agreement that was entered with Fair Share Housing on July 23rd. and the court's order approving the settlement. The housing element and fair share plan is the township's affordable housing plan. It is an element of the master plan, and because of that, it is considered a planning board document. And on November 2nd, the planning board adopted the housing element and fair share plan as revised to conform, as I said, with the settlement agreement and the judge's order. The township committee does not adopt this document. It endorses it, recognizes that the planning board has done, has prepared this, and it is recommending it to become a part of the master plan. So again, this is consistent with what has already occurred, and it is a requirement of the judge's order, and it is part of the documents that I will be submitting, as you indicated earlier in the meeting, to the judge tomorrow in support of the township's application for an order on December the 14th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Albert. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the Township Committee? Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-248?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
Very good.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next resolution is 2020-249. Greg, if you could read that title, please.
Resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, adopting a spending plan regarding the expenditure of funds for affordable housing from the Township Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Albert, could I ask you to give a brief description of this, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. You'll recall that earlier this year, the township did adopt an affordable housing development fee ordinance. The funds that the township collects as a result of that development fee ordinance is not placed into the general coffers of the municipality as a general revenue. It has to be placed into a specific account. It is an affordable housing trust account. Money from that account may only be spent in a manner that is consistent with an affordable housing development fee spending plan. So this is the guide for the township spending money for affordable housing. Again, it is based upon the regulations of the Council on Affordable Housing. The council sets forth the methodology and the way or the allocation of how affordable housing trust funds may be spent. It did adopt a prior spending plan, but that spending plan has not been approved by the court, and so it had to be amended or revised to reflect the fact that fees are now being collected, revise some of the projections of the fees collected to making sure that the projections were consistent with the experience the township has had in the last 6 months. And again, it is a document that I will be submitting to the court tomorrow in support of the township's request for at the final compliance hearing.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have any questions or comments?
And I omitted to say this was also reviewed by the planning board at its November 2 meeting, and it is considered a part of the housing element and fair share plan. However, because it involves spending money even from an affordable trust account, I thought it would be best to have this resolution separated. The planning board chose to have one resolution approving both the housing element and fair share plan and the spending plan. But for township committee purposes, I thought it would be better to separate the two. But it's perfectly acceptable the way the planning board did it.
Thank you, Albert. Can I have a motion to introduce? A motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Let me say that I appreciate the fact that this is treated as a separate resolution because I'm going to vote against it. I have stood against the manner by which the township plans to accrue funds for the collection, I should say the collection for its affordable trust fund, affordable housing trust fund. It places an undue burden on homeowners seeking to improve upon their homes. It's something that I've spoken out against since we began the discussion on the spending plan. So I am voting against it because I'm not in approval of the way by which we are going about funding the affordable trust fund. I'm voting no.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Our next resolution is 2020-250. Greg, if you would read the title, please.
Resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, of intent to fund spending plan shortfall.
And Albert, can I ask you to give the brief synopsis of this one?
Yes. You previously adopted a similar resolution. This resolution refines it or revises what you previously adopted to specifically provide that the township will make up or supplement any shortfalls for the construction of 522 Southern Boulevard and the 3 group homes. The prior resolution was more general in nature, but because now the township plan, affordable housing plan, includes 522 Southern Boulevard and the 3 group homes, it is appropriate to specifically identify those properties as being subject to additional funding by the township. The reason the township is adopting this resolution is because 522 Southern Boulevard and the 3 group homes are all considered municipal affordable housing sites, meaning that they are sponsored by the municipality. And if that occurs, then the municipality has to support those developments. You just adopted the spending plan. If you were to bond for any of those shortfalls, the spending plan allows the municipality to reimburse itself from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for these expenditures. It would not be a full reimbursement because, as I stated earlier, the spending plan allocates the various mechanisms that can be funded, but you will be able to obtain some reimbursement for that. So again, this is a way to spend money from the spending plan, but it also represents a commitment that if there is a shortfall at any of these municipally sponsored sites for the construction, that the municipality will supplement that need. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Albert. Any questions or comments from members of the Township Committee? Can I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Our next item is Resolution 2020-251. Greg, if you could read the title, please.
A resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign an affordable housing service agreement with Walters Cornerstone Development LLC.
Thank you, Greg. Albert, could you again give us a synopsis of this one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a new action by the Township Committee, although it represents a variation on what you did at the last Township Committee meeting. At the last Township Committee meeting, you conditionally designated the Walters Cornerstone Development LLC as the developer of 522 Southern Boulevard, and the condition was entering into an affordable housing development agreement that would be acceptable to the township. So during the period between the last Township Committee meeting and now, an agreement was negotiated with Walters Cornerstone. Walters Cornerstone was one of 4 respondents to the township's request for qualifications, and based upon an overall review of the 4 responses, the Township Committee at the last meeting designated Walters as the developer. The resolution does authorize the administrator and myself to finalize this agreement. There are a couple of minor areas that need a little bit more refinement, but the agreement will be in substantially the form that you have seen. And again, this now is a follow-up to what you did at the last meeting, and it is the agreement between yourselves, or between the township and Walters, to construct or build 522 Southern. All of these resolutions, 248, 249, 250, and 251, are going to be submitted to the court, as I indicated earlier, to the court in support of the township's hearing on the final compliance for its affordable housing plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Albert. Any questions or comments from members of the Township Committee? Can I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Greg, if you could call the roll.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That finishes our affordable housing action for tonight, and moving on to Resolution 2020-252. Greg, if you could read the title, please.
Resolution of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing Township Administrator to take all steps necessary to secure grant-funded 30-ton HVAC unit and
There's a typo there. It should be scrubber, not scrubber.
scrubber technology by December 10th, 2020. And I will fix that typo in the heading.
Very good. Bob, this is one of the items you reported on earlier tonight.
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fondaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes. And our final resolution tonight, 2020-253. Greg, if you could read the title, please.
Resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing execution of an agreement between the Township of Chatham and the Township of Bloomfield for Health Department Services for years 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025.
Thank you, Greg. And this is not...
Yeah, this was touched on by Mrs. Ewald earlier this evening.
Yes.
And the Board of Health did endorse this at their meeting on Tuesday night. And I'll
Very
yield
good.
to any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of the Township Committee?
I would just like to say thanks to the folks who work so hard for our Board of Health. Stacy, thanks to you. Everybody who is involved in this latest health crisis and pandemic that we have seen. I don't think that the role of the health officer in our town has ever been quite so important. When I served as liaison to the Board of Health for the Township Committee, we spent a lot of time discussing septic systems, and I learned more about septic systems than I ever thought I would need to know. But these are crisis times, and I don't think, as I said before, I don't think we've ever put quite so much reliance in our health officer as before, or as our Department of Health. So this is great. I'm glad that they have come through in the clutch. I'm glad that they've been there for us to lean on, to consult with, and I'm glad that we've chosen at this point to continue our relationship with them for the near future.
Yes, well, thank you, Karen. I'd like to add to that. Mike Fitzpatrick has been wonderful, coordinating with the borough, coordinating with the school district, getting information out to residents, chasing down each one of these, governor's actions that come down and trying to piece it together. But he's also gone above and beyond working with our businesses to help them figure out how they can stay open and keep their workers healthy. There was a lot of work early on in the long-term care facilities, and that would be another big area of focus going forward. Thankfully, since that difficulty in the spring, they've haven't had any cases in the long-term care facilities, but it is always concerning me. But yeah, they've been wonderful, and we get to continue to work with Marlene Dolan out of Madison's Health Department. That team has been wonderful. There's a whole education crew, health education crew. We're hoping to update the website so that everybody knows, since Madison is not the one-stop shop anymore, everybody knows where they can go and what resources are available. But they do provide a lot of services, so we really want to take advantage of that.
Thank you, Stacy.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment, please?
Please.
Yeah. I echo what the Township Committee members have said, but I'd also like our residents to know that the health officer and his staff have been in contact with members of our elected officials and our professional staff 7 days a week. Mike and I have exchanged calls Saturdays, Sundays, 11 o'clock at night. He has been great, just keeping everybody in the loop. And then on the rare times when he needs assistance, we are more than happy to do it. And I would just encourage everybody to please follow up with the contact tracing. If you are called, please do not try and evade them. Please help them protect all of us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you. Good point.
Well, you did remind me, Bob, one thing they did recommend, and I'm pretty sure it's posted on the health website under the coronavirus page, but there's the tracing app that they're highly recommending. And I wish I could remember the name. I have it on my phone, but it's an app that you can download, and it helps to identify if you've been near somebody who has tested positive for the coronavirus. So they were encouraging people to learn more about that app and to take a look at it and consider putting it on your phone.
COVID Alert NJ.
Thank you.
That clerk, he comes up with every information, does the roll call, he tells you the names of apps. Very good.
And if I might add, in the years that I've been here since 2006, the relationship with the health department goes back long before that. The joint municipal court gets a lot of touting for justifiably being an excellent example of a shared service, and I think that the health department services don't get nearly enough credit for being a shining example of shared services done right.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Well, that being said, can I ask for a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Very good.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes.
Mrs. Fanako?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ness?
Yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That finishes our resolutions for tonight. Our last item on the agenda before our final public hearing is a discussion item on best practices.
Bob already covered that.
We did already discuss that. If there's no other comments or questions on that topic anyone has? Very good. We will move on to our second and final hearing of citizens and petitions. Same guidelines that we spelled out earlier apply, so I won't repeat for everybody. But if you would like to participate, now's the time to raise your hand.
And I'd just like to remind anyone that speaks, if you speak, you get one set of 5 minutes. Yep.
Very good. Any hands up?
No hands up as of yet.
No hands up. Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? We will close the public hearing. And that brings us to the end of our agenda for tonight. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
And a second. Very good.
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe out there. We won't see you again until mid-December. So best wishes to everybody.
Very good. Good. A good message. Thank you.
To you all too. Okay, good night.
Actually,
Good night.
all those in favor of it, did we do a roll call?
No, just all in favor?
Just all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Very good. We're finished for the night. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.